Okay, very good. Thanks, Dean. I'd like to welcome you to the Art of Pricebook Maintenance webinar this morning. And we're going to be uncovering the hidden costs of materials. And the demo today, I'm going to go through a few basic Pricebook management features that everybody should have under their belt. But we'll also talk a little bit about how to stop overbuying on commonly purchased materials. Also catching vendor overbillings. You may have been quoted one thing, but you get a bill for something else, and Cobra's got some built-in features to help you with that. There's also something very rarely used called item usage, but it's a nice way to streamline your price book and also to create field sheets for your mobile technician guys. And then there's a new fast delete button for materials that are in your price book that are no longer being used. And we'll cover that briefly. And perhaps if you're a longtime user and you've got kind of a mess with your price book, we can also talk about doing a fresh restart with one of our database price books that we have here. And then finally, we're putting it all together with a quick little look at syncing the field and office together with the system. So with that in mind, I think I will just jump right into COBRA here. And again, because it's the price book webinar, we're gonna focus mainly on the price book today. So I'm gonna click price book, and we'll talk about some of the main features that we hope you are using. And I'd like to start this morning just by making sure everybody knows how to search for materials in the price book. And I'm going to click the little find button on the top left of the toolbar where it says find. And that opens up our price book main recall list, as you can see at the top here. So you can always click on a recall name at the top of the window to bring up a complete list of related materials. So as an example, I'll click the recall name of PVC. And when I do click that, you can see that I've got a pretty long list of PVC items that I've got showing. Actually, the number on the lower left of the screen says 151 PVC items. So instead of scrolling through the whole list to find that needle in the haystack, I like this feature. There's a nice feature called the double search. And so let's say I was just looking for maybe an adapter. I can type adapter and click the little double search button over all these little search options on the lower right. The fourth column over on the top says double search. I'm going to click that. And now that took all those PVC items in that recall name and limited it down to 11. So then I can pick the exact adapter that I want very quickly. So double search is a nice search mechanism. I suggest you guys give it a try. Then the next search that's quite popular, other than just clicking the recall name, is called the description search. Now, some people call it the desperate search, and that's when you come into here and you just don't know where anything is and you're desperate to find an item. Now, this particular example, I'm looking for a rigid sweep. So I can begin by just typing the word rigid in my search text. And when I type rigid, helps to type right, huh? And I type the description. Now that's on the second column over here under description or desperate. And I click that, and now I get anything with the word rigid in my database. And you can see, again, I've got some in the rigid, I got some over in aluminum, recall names. I got some in rack, so it's all over the place. And that's fine, but I just pulled up 199 items again. So maybe if I know a little bit more about the specific rigid item I want, like maybe it's a sweep, and again, you have to know how to type. And I'll click the description search again, and wow, there we are. I narrowed it down from 199 down to 11, and I can get my size I want on the rigid sweep. So both the double search and the description or desperate search are fun ones here. Okay, very good. So now let's look at another great feature that's used quite common, and that is the vendor part search. So if you've got your vendor parts in here from your supplier, I suggest a lot of people know them. They know their vendor part numbers, and that's cool. We like that. So with that in mind, you can type a vendor part number in that little search text here as well. So as an example, I can type EMT and then I'll go 034 and click the vendor part search, and boom, it finds it right there. And I can have different vendor parts in that description. In fact, let's bring this item out onto the main Pricebook Center screen. So I'm gonna leave my Pricebook lookup window, and I'm gonna double click my mouse, and now I'm back in Pricebook Center, and I've got my 3/4 inch EMT up on the screen. Okay, so that's a little bit about some of the search capabilities, and give it a try if you're not using any of them. It saves a lot of time. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some of the features in Pricebook Center. And I'm going to start up on the top right corner of the what's called the vendor update services settings. And this is where if we want to get a supplier price update, these particular fields need to be filled in, like the vendor ID. I've got a VK here that represents my vendor Viking. Yay, for all of you around the country, that's the Minnesota Vikings. Hooray, right? No, but there's an actual vendor in Minneapolis here called Viking Electric. And this is their particular item, uh, logo ID, if you will, is VK. Okay, very good. So, um, so if I want my main material vendors to update my costs and prices, this information is needed, including things such as either their vendor part number or their trade number. Those are the handshakes. And you can see the last time that this was updated was back in May 10th, 2023. So I may want to ask them for a new update file just to kind of catch up. All right. And again, when we get the update, this is the billing cost is here. That'll get updated times your markup, and it'll set a new price for you. Same if you want the estimating cost, if you're using the COBRA Quick Estimator program. Okay, and how you get the update, it's pretty easy. You just go up to the top of the screen under the Updates drop down and click Pricing Update Center. You just click there. Then you select your vendor that's sent you the file. I've got Viking price update right here. Okay, so now I'm in what's called the supplier update window. And all I have to do is if they've emailed me a latest update file, I just click the load button up here and load the file. I'm not going to do it right now, but this is what you do. You click the load, and then you would click update. And then what the system will do is go through and make any cost changes that have taken place since the last time I ran the price update from this vendor. And when it's finished, it'll tell me it's done. And then what I can do, if I want to, I can take a look at the items that got updated. Uh, and this is just a great way to keep your costs up to date with your material supply vendor. So to do that, I'll just click View and look at the updated items. Now, the last time I ran this was back in May 10th. So let me get the date back in time. I'll go 05/10, and we'll just load. And there it is. And so the items, I can look at the difference on the items that got updated. And you can see as it went through the list, it made the changes. A lot of things went down since the last time I had an update, but then other things went up. So instead of you trying to do this all manually all day long, looking at vendor invoices, I encourage you to work with us and let's see if we can get a couple of your main suppliers going for you and make this a little easier and more up-to-date process for you. And in fact, we have a document called suppliers.doc, how we work with your suppliers. And it explains exactly how the suppliers can provide an Excel spreadsheet for you, and we can put it into COBRA. So if any of you want this suppliers.doc file, write that down, suppliers.doc, and just email me, Jim at cobra-usa.com, and I'll send it over to you. And then we can begin to work with your suppliers and see if we can get this thing going. Okay, good. It's a little bit about updating prices. I want to talk for a minute about inventory, and that's because most people don't use the inventory portion of the program. And, COBRA is a lot different than any other software program out there in that, other systems make you, put a full-fledged inventory system together, even if you're not using most of your items on a daily basis and tracking inventory. And so what we've done is we've said, okay, maybe you've got 4,000 or 5,000 items in your price book, but maybe only a couple hundred, or you kind of want to keep track of in the back office, the warehouse or whatever. So you can just designate certain items in the COBRA price book for inventory tracking purposes. And now, why would you want to do that? Well, why not? I mean, if you're buying this material, it's an asset, and just having a little bit of control over the ins and outs, it can save a lot of money. And it's not that hard to do. In fact, if we look at this lower right of the screen here, and we look at this 3/4 inch EMT, now it meets all of the criteria to become an inventory item in the price book. You can see the reorder level is set at 50. What does that mean? Well, that means that when we use this item on jobs, and the quantity that we use on the jobs falls below this reorder level number that we've set, COBRA will tell us. It'll go, hey, you just fallen below your reorder level, time to reorder. Go to the reorder level report and print it out, and you can view all the items that you need to reorder. Kind of nice. And then when we reorder, we can also set what's known as a reorder quantity. And that's nice too. So, because that tells us what quantity we should reorder. And in this case, it's 500. And next is the on-hand quantity, which is currently at 1,000. Now, that means that's what's residing in our main warehouse, our price book warehouse for this item. And then we have a total quantity of 1,080. And sometimes people don't understand that. And to get that answer, I can just click the inventory tab for this item, and I can see, oh, okay, we got 1,000 in the main price book warehouse, but then we also have 80 of these items on Chuck's truck, because again, you can track more than one inventory with COBRA. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit about the inventory. Simple, and we can help you out with that too, if that's something that you may want to look into. Okay, so moving right along, I want to also talk about price history. Now, this is an automated procedure, and it's a great way to keep track of what you've been paying for material items per vendor. Now, I'm going to click the price history, and you can see right away that I've got a couple of different suppliers I buy this item from. And you can see like the border states vendor, we purchased a quantity of 25 of this 3/4 inch EMT. We paid 88 cents per foot on June 13th. And then the other vendor, vendor J Electronics, we ended up paying a higher price, 91 cents. And we had to purchase a quantity of 500. So as you build up this history of these items, like in this example, Border States looks to be the better supplier at the moment when purchasing the item. So this works automated through the purchase order program. Now, if you're not using the purchase order program, you can manually use another feature in the price book to get this history built up. But the PO system's so simple. It just It's part of just working it. Okay, another thing we're going to just touch on for a minute is how to prevent you from overbuying materials. Um, and this is a very unused feature of the system, but I think it's quite powerful. And we're going to be letting people know more about this in upcoming webinars. But it's called a material list, and it is in the purchase order program. So I'm just going to bop over to the purchase orders program for a second and bring up the material list right up here in the middle of the toolbar at the top. It's called lists. Let's just click that open for a minute. And now what's really nice about this is it integrates with all areas of the COBRA system, whether it's in the, the material posting screen when you're posting up materials for jobs. If you're using the quick estimator program, it's really nice for that because you can import your quick estimator materials right into here. And this list will show you what items you have on hand and what quantities need to be ordered. Another example is if you've got materials you want to track. We talked about Chuck's truck. Let's just bring it up for a second. Okay, so these are the items that currently we're tracking on Chuck's truck as an example. And okay, so what we're looking at this list of materials for Chuck's truck. Now the quantity column, that's really the reorder quantity, and the on-hand quantity columns, they look all the same, meaning that these items do not need to be ordered at this time for Chuck's truck. However, the last item on the list, the 4-foot 2-lamp fluorescent strips, tells a different story. The reorder quantity shows 10, which is what we always want to keep stocked on his truck. And while the on-hand quantity currently is showing 8, so he's starting to, use that item up. And then based on that, the list automatically put 2 in the purchase order column, meaning, hey, anytime you can order this fluorescence and get 2 of them so Chuck gets his truck replenished. Now, if I wanted to, I could just click the Create PO button down below here and order the additional fluorescence from my supplier. Okay, so we'll talk more about this material list and so many different ways we can use this to help us not buy materials when we already have them in stock. Okay, very good. Okay, I'm going to bop back to the Pricebook Center, just F11, and boom, I'm right back here. Okay, right where I was. That's the other thing. You can jump around in these center screens and it remembers where you were the last time. So that F11 key is real nice for bopping around. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the purchase order program and take a look at purchase orders for this item. Okay. Again, we're really kind of digging into an individual item in the price book here and just show you some of the power that you've got here. All right. So the purchase order tab keeps you up to date on your purchases for any item. The open purchase orders is particularly helpful when you're not sure if you placed an order for this specific item on a PO. Well, you got it right here. It shows you we ordered 175. We received 125, and that might have come into our inventory, or it might have gone right to the job, or it could have gone to Chuck's truck. And again, that's however you direct the materials that you purchase. Could go on the job site as well. But we've got a remaining quantity of 50 right now that we did not get in. And so you could go to the back order report in purchase orders and it would show it right there. Okay. A lot of people like doing this and keeping it up to date. So and now one other thing I want to talk about is showing how you can prevent overpaying for materials. And we've got what's called the purchase order versus accounts payable program that work together to prevent you from overpaying on materials. And I'm going to bring up a quick example for you here to look at. Okay. Now you can see the purchase amount that was ordered was $5,343.75. But the invoice amount that was sent to you from the vendor was 5,900. Well, the system compares the accounts payable invoice or invoices against the purchase order. And right now it's showing a difference of $556.25. That's quite a bit of change. I mean, if you just cut the invoice for 5,900, you could be out the $556 and not even know it. But by clicking the Update Invoice Dispute button, COBRA will register this amount in your accounts payable check writer window. So you can make the decision do you want to pay the full 5,900 or dispute that amount and pay less. Maybe save yourself the $500. It's a nice feature. And we're going to be discussing this in more detail in our upcoming material management webinar that's scheduled for early December. So if any of you like some of this stuff, especially that supply list and this APPO comparison, I encourage you to stop in again, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail for you. Okay, good. Okay, moving right along, we're back here in our main 3/4 inch EMT. I want to talk a minute about item usage. Now, item usage tells us the total quantity that we've used for this item during the year. I just click item usage. And as you post materials to a job, item usage is tracking it back here in the price book section for you. And it also will show you which customers and jobs that this item was used on. So if I click like in May here, I can see, Billy Bob Thornton, we did that, Ambassador Press. So you could have a long list of customers that this item was used for. And plus you can change year to year to see the total quantity that was used in previous years. If I see for 2023, I've used over 1,000 feet of this. If I go back to 2022 and just click load, now I only used 100 feet of it last year. So maybe I'm on an uptick. Maybe business is better, or I'm doing some different type of work where I'm buying more of this. And this just gives you a little bit more power. And I know some contractors are using this item usage feature to negotiate better pricing from their suppliers. You could say, look, I've been buying from you guys. I can get this, I know I'm going to be buying more and more of this now that I'm in this kind of a job market. And I'd like a little better price if possible, because I'm going to shop around. So a little bit of negotiating doesn't hurt. In addition, you can create what's called an item usage report, and you can send this to your local suppliers and ask them, hey, I'd like you to start updating my price book, but I only want you to update the commonly used items that I use all the time from you guys. So could you just send me the file? I'll send you my item usage report. And that's done. If I click the inventory drop down, item usage report, you just click that. And then you've got this little item usage report writer built in for you. Now, we suggest doing a date range of at least a year, maybe 2 years worth, to really get a good idea of, what items you've been using out of the price book. That'll give you a real good indication of the hot items that you guys can, are always using. And maybe you want to limit it to a specific job type as well. And I know people that will use it for, like a residential type jobs. I want a list of just those, and versus maybe my commercial time and material work, that kind of thing. So, you can select how you want to run the report, but when you've got your selection criteria, in here, go down and click under condensed, click export right here. That will export this item usage report into your COBRA folder, which is great because then you can take a look at it. And I think I've got one here for us just to kind of, yeah, it comes in an Excel file. Yeah, here it is. So now you can see this is an item usage report. You can see the quantity that we've used on each of these items in our price book over time. And you get a good idea, of what we've been using on a daily basis. And this is quite powerful because not only can you send this maybe to your supplier and have them just create a little file on what you've been using. Sometimes the supplier will also have that file for you as well. But that's the hot stuff that you're using all the time. That's what we always recommend. You should put that in your main COBRA price book and get rid of the stuff that you're not using much of. And we'll talk about that in a second as well. Because you can always load their whole supplier file that they have of 50,000 items in the COBRA supplemental database and get at it that way. But you want the hot stuff, in your working everyday price book. Okay, very good. So we did that. Okay, I'm going to move right along. And again, we talked a little bit about you may have a lot of older items, older COBRA users may have a lot of materials that, are old and outdated. So we've developed an easy way to delete unwanted items out of the price book. Now, to do that, write this down. You've got an F5 key on your keyboard. F5 for find. It's used all over COBRA, whatever you want to find stuff. If you've got a vendor ID supplying a price update for you, bring the vendor ID up here and then just press F5. And now what'll happen is it'll go through the system and look just for those Viking, where you buy from Viking, that supplier, and it'll bring up all these items right here. And then as you look through the list, if the supplier is doing its job, it's gonna be updating on a pretty regular basis here for you. You can see a lot of them are in 2023 right here, and so forth. So if some of the items aren't being updated, then you got to kind of question, well, how come? Did they change their trade number, or maybe they've got a new vendor part number that I can get from them so that the updating can continue. But if there's stuff loaded in the price book that goes back to 2009, stuff like that, maybe that's a discontinued item, and it's easy to clean up. You just click the delete button on the lower left, and you I've got a couple of things here, and maybe some of this stuff down here. You just kind of go through it and click delete. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete? Yes, just get rid of them. And it'll take it through and start deleting stuff out of the price book for you. This is a great tool as well. If we've talked about other issues here. If you want to change your recall name for a certain group of items, maybe you want this group for set screw connectors, you can highlight these and go up here to the recall name and just click connectors and get rid of the SS or whatever for a recall name, whatever you want to do there. So this little F5 key gives you a lot of control over how you want to get your price book customized, deleted, rearranged, etc. Okay, real good. Good stuff, guys. Okay. Now we talked a little bit about the item usage and how easy it is to create field sheets. And so here's all you need to do, because we know field sheets are the preferred method when guys go out and they have to record materials. Instead of handwriting out all the materials on, time and material jobs or any kind of job, if they have to record their materials out of their trucks or whatever, why should they have to be handwriting? The office says, I can't read their writing, et cetera, et cetera. So field sheets were invented, and the field sheet center, can work in conjunction with the item usage reports to easily create a field sheet. And so to do that, let's go over to Field Sheet Center. And one of the options in Field Sheet Center is to import that item usage condensed file. And so just by creating that item usage file that we talked about earlier, I could import it right on the screen. And what'll happen is if I segmented that item usage report into like a commercial versus a residential list, I can just click it on here. I'll load it up, and came right off an item usage. And you can see in a second. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Do this again. There it is. Okay. So you've got your nice list now of all the materials that we've been using on a constant basis that the guys can use in the field. You can, you know, bring this back into Excel and kind of pretty it up a little bit, or it now integrates directly with the mobile program. And those of you that are already using Cobra Mobile know how valuable the mobile field sheet is for the technicians. And in fact, let's just take a quick look at the mobile field sheet that I sent one out earlier today. You just click the little next to the X up here. There's one called mobile field sheets, and you can click that and send it right out. And so we'll have a quick look at that for just a minute. And I sent one out to my iPad. But now with this new technology, it's a web-based product, so you can use any smartphone, any tablet, any laptops. Just send one out to the guys in the field, and it'll come into their inbox, just like you're looking at right here. And I just sent one out a little earlier to Bob Lindy. Now I can get right into the mobile field sheet, or I may want to look at all of my schedule of jobs that I've got going on here out in the field. And so the office is communicating with me right here. These are all my mobile jobs that I've got for Chuck. I'm Chuck Cameron today. Thank you very much. And you can see I can sort by my job number. I can sort by the customer name, or maybe by the scheduled date. And I can see the latest one here. Oh yeah, okay. I got to get out to Bob Lindy's house. If I want to, I can just touch it, and what it'll do is bring it right up on my. I'm on an iPad right now, so it brings it up on my iPad, and we can take a look at this mobile field sheet for a minute. It's kind of cool, and take a look at the work ticket and that material field sheet. So let's just real briefly, we'll look at this. Okay, it's a time and material job. Fixtures and switches are causing problems. I've got my phone numbers to call Mr. Bob Lindy at and his address. I could also touch for directions if I needed to know how to get out there. And plus, I've got some history on work that we've done in the past out at Mr. Lindy's place. I've got the ballasts that we installed back in 2013. And I've got some lighting information back in 2022 when we were back out. So this makes my field tech more effective when he walks through the door and talks to Mr. Lindy, because you've got the past history right on his smartphone or tablet to talk to him about things. Okay, good news there. A little bit about the job notes. Now, let's talk about, I'm working out there. And now what I want to do is put my hours on the job that I've been working on. So here's Chuck Cameron. Okay. And I've selected that. Now we're just going to add myself to the list. And let's just say that I worked out there for 5 hours today. Okay, good. So I could add more guys if I had a helper, whatever the case may be. But I've got the hours on there. I could remove it, change it. It's very simple. The drop downs are so easy to use. Let's go to that material list for a moment. And now when I bring that up, it's got barcode scanning in it. We can talk about that at another time. But I'm more interested in that field sheet I sent out. Remember that field sheet, the residential one? Well, this is how it looks on the mobile device now. And I can begin entering my materials that I used for this job. So to begin with, let's see, I'm going to just touch the plates. And I'll just say I used 3 of these nylons, so I'll just touch 3 here. Okay, simple. And when I do that, it's going to track a tally list up here for me. I don't have to go up and look at it all the time, but just knowing that it's going to tally up all the parts and the quantities so I can review it at the end to make sure I got everything that I used out here today. Okay, so next I'm going to touch the plastic boxes, and I need the 1 gang nylon. nailer. We'll just touch that. And I used 3 of those as well. So we'll just touch that. Done. Okay. Okay. So we'll move right along. Now I'm going to just say the word wire. I could touch wire right down here, but I've got so much wire. I can scroll and scroll and scroll. So it's tons and tons of wire, which is fine. You want it in your database, but you don't necessarily want to scroll through it all. So what I can do is I'm looking for a connector. Now I can type the word connector or I can just talk it. Connector. So what it did is it found that word in the database and it brought up 4 different recall names. Well, I know I want the wire, so I just touch wire and there it is. So instead of scrolling through all those hundreds of wire items, I just did a little search and found the one that I needed here. And there it is. And then I can just put my quantity in next. And I use about 28 of them. So we'll just put in the 28 here. Ooh, and I'm done. Simple. So the search capabilities now, being a web-based search engine, is just incredible. Okay, going to do another one here. And let's see what we'll do here. I'll just clear that screen right here. Okay, and I'm gonna say the word handy. See what happens. Handy. Again, it's under wire, and there's my handy strap Romex. Just grab that, and let's see. I've got 10 of those I want to use. Okay, so we'll just put that in here. Done. Good. All right. So moving right along, I can say NM for non-metallic Romex. If I want to do that and do a little search in that way too, I'll just type 10M NM and it just finds wire. And then I want the 12-2 and it brings it up for me as well. And I use 12 of them. Done. Again, keep in mind, all of these are being tallied up for me up above here as I do my searching and get my materials on board. So you can get really good at this. I'm a little big fingered thumb kind of guy, but no worries. Let me do another one here, kind of finish up on this searching for you. Wire connector. There it is. And there's some Scotch green right there. And I can use 28 of those. I think I used that one before. Let me look up here. Did I use wire connector? I did, so I don't need it. Okay. All right. Other features in here, items not listed. If you don't have it on here, you can just, on the fly, you can put a little wild card number in and say something like bulbs. And maybe you paid, $5 for it. Add it right to the tally sheet right up there. No worries. And you don't have to have prices on here either. A lot of times we get asked that, does it have to show the price? And no, you can have it without prices. If you want to collect on site, the system will tally up the pricing and do the tax for you and everything. It's pretty remarkable, really. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty good about the material list. All right. Lots of other features in here as well, including the totals like we talked about. It adds it all up. Little check boxes so that they can communicate back to the office. Maybe they have to do a follow-up, whatever. Maybe it's completed. That's helpful to know in the office that they did finish it up. The last thing, maybe the tech has some job notes that he wanted to record, and instead of him or her having to handwrite all the notes, this is much easier. We'll do that real quick. Replaced open splices in basement for ceiling lights, period. Checked out foyer light switches, period. Checked out dining room light and switches, period. Checked out living room receptacles and switches, period. Fixed all connections, period. Tightened all connections in main electrical panel, period. Job completed, period. So I don't know about you, but a lot easier, a lot cleaner, save some time. Excellent. Okay. You can do other things. You can take as many photos as you want. Just touch the photo thing and start taking pictures. If you are collecting on site, get their signature. Otherwise, just if you're finished, just touch the submit button right here and boom, that's it. Now it's all coming back to COBRA. So with that in mind, we'll take a quick look at how it comes back into COBRA, and we'll just click it open here. And now we're back into COBRA in my job center screen, and take us, maybe a minute or so before it comes in. But let's talk about that, because instead of you having to redo all his work that he just did in the field, it's all done for you. You just click in what's called import field sheets right here, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But let's look at this. The office staff has always been kind of not in sync with the guys in the field. They're waiting for their paperwork, and did they fill out everything? And I can't read the handwriting. All the complaints that go on, and they're always calling me with questions. Well, we've got this view log now, so when we send these out, these field sheets, you get the date, the job number, the worker I sent it to, the date that it was sent, and the date it was received or not. You can see Chuck's been a bad boy. He has not sent a lot of his field sheets back in. And so this is a real nice way for the office administrator at the company to say, wow, Chuck, you're not going to get paid, man. No, but Chuck, we need some help here. Let me just highlight the ones that you have not sent back. And there's a button. Do you see the email technician button? It can send a nice friendly reminder to Chuck that, hey, we have not got this paperwork back in. So please take a little time out and fill them out for you. Okay, excellent. Now I just refresh the log. You can see the one that I just worked on here should be in there it is. So I'm going to click it on. And there it is. This is all the work that I just did out in the field, and now it's right back in COBRA for me. That bulbs, remember the bulbs? I added it on the fly. It wasn't even in my database. And then all the material items, the Chuck Cameron, the first line is the labor item. And we got his hours right there. I've got the notes up on top in the yellow section on the replaced open splices and basement. All of that's done, completed. The whole job's completed. So all you do is what we call our one-click process. You just click on the lower right where it says post a job. I'm clicking it and it's done. And it puts a little green strip right there. So if you had to take a phone call, it was real busy in the office and you weren't sure if you posted it, you can look at your green strip and say, oh yeah, I did. And so what does that all mean? Well, when I exit, now here's the job, and you can see the costs of material, labor, cost of charges, and then right there, all of that's done. If I want to look at the materials, maybe I need to change something or add something still, I can do that. But all the work essentially is here. It's already been done by the field techs who sent it in for me. And if I want to review my profit before I do my billing, we always recommend using the profit preview. That's probably the most widely used report in COBRA because I can see my actual costs, the extended costs, the unit price, the margin that I'm making. Oh, look at the bulbs. We're not making any money on the bulbs there. So at that point, I may want to go back and mark up those bulbs, which is pretty easy to do. I just click into here. And maybe I don't even know what I want to mark it up, but I want to sell it for, $8.50. So we'll just do that. Boom. Got a little tax on it. Perfect. Okay, my job notes are right here. And these are uninvoiced notes on the right, and the job notes are on the left. And the job notes, if you had to go back tomorrow, the notes would kick in for another day and keep these notes here, but you'd see a whole set of new notes if somebody else had to go back on that job. Okay, the document center right up here, that would house all of the material pictures or the pictures of the job site where you were taking, or maybe you're taking receipts of materials that were delivered. That all comes into this job as well right here. So you're really ready to go and just do your invoice. So you just go to Billing Center. The invoice is already finished. You can preview it if you want. There's the job that I got. He sent me 3 minutes ago, and it's all done. And I can email it to my customer or print it out for snail mail. Cool. Okay. So with that in mind, we're going to wrap it up here. And the next steps, if any of you are interested, is you can schedule a personal call with us or email us with any questions on what we just covered. If you want your free recording of this webinar, please visit our website at www.cobra-usa.com and just log into our video library. If you don't know how to do that, happy to help you there. And if you'd like to schedule a look at the mobile, we can get you set up and give you a free 30-day trial. Just contact me, Jim at COBRA-USA.com. Okay, well, this concludes the webinar for this morning. I sure appreciate you guys coming to it, and I look forward to working with you. So look for our next one. Be a little bit deeper dive into material management, and we'll send you one of those invites in like I said, early part of December. All right, we're going to sign off. Thanks very much. Have a nice day.